was just waiting for the little pop-up. So I was like,
Nice.
"Are you there? Anybody here?" Was it? Remember the old Verizon commercial? Shoot, now I don't remember. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
I
now?
can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Still yes.
This is me in real life, people.
All right. Welcome.
I'm awkward. See? Go ahead.
Well, why don't you take it from here?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live with Danay and Sheila, and we are live. I got the little notification thingy. I am like a little child. I get distracted by things. We have so many viewers right now. In the energetics, I assume, but somebody will pop on. But for those who don't know who we are, I am Danay Novoa. I am an intuitive coach and channel, and I have a PhD in psychology, but it is in the experimental route, so I don't do the therapy. But I know some stuff about human behavior, and that's fun. So I'll turn it to Sheila to introduce herself. She's an amazing coach and has a lot of wisdom to share.
Thanks. I even know my name. So I'm Sheila Williams. I'm an intuitive coach based out of Alberta, Canada. And I do not have a PhD in anything except maybe life. And that's kind of what we come and talk about on these videos is what's going on with us and ideas, conversations that we've had, thought processes, and we translate that into hopefully something useful that you might be able to use on the day-to-day. Whether you are familiar with coaching or not, it's not therapy, that's for sure. It does, in fact, start with you, right where you are, and works with what's present. I had a great client call this morning and ideas of the future. And what if notice none of that is actually right now?
So I'm going
And
to
I use
pause you for a sec, Sheila, because your internet or my internet kind of choppy, so you sounded very wonderfully robotic. Um, I don't know if you're able to adjust your connection, um, but we'll see.
my connection is as good as it gets. So why don't you take over?
No,
And
no,
I'll see if it'll catch
you're
up on the back end.
yeah, no, you're fine now. It's just as you were sharing the stuff that I'm sure would have been insightful, it started to slow down. We had to really focus and take in every word slowly. That's how it works. I don't know. Anyways, as you were
It
saying,
happens to the best of us. I'll see if I can close anything else in my background, but I think I'm kind of at the point that I can be. And yeah, my point was that coaching focuses on where you are, and we spend a lot of our time either focused backwards or looking ahead, way into the future, and wondering and worrying and not knowing. And it turns out that none of that really needs to matter necessarily in the moment that we're in. So that was what I was saying.
yeah, yeah, it's wonderful. Um, I think it's interesting when I was starting my whole journey and things, I had a whole idea of how things were going to turn out for me. And I did not anticipate that channeling would have been part of it or coaching would have been part of it. And upcoming soon, as I get more into the groove of it, astrology. It's been interesting to notice that I thought I was going to be on one specific path and I took another one. So it is
Mhm.
very interesting to have that. So, what delightful thing would we like to discuss today in our Just Talking live?
Yeah, well, I had an idea, and I think we both had some examples recently. But a lot of people, when they come to coaching, they are in a state of wanting something. They're working towards something, or they want something that hasn't shown up yet. And, it's pretty common for us to remember, there's a great picture that goes out and stories, especially about mining, where when you're mining, you're really just digging away at rock, you're blasting it, you're doing whatever you have to do. but you're looking for something. And how many people, stopped 3 feet short of the actual gold? And so there's a lot of different analogies. And it came to me yesterday. I'm in White Rock, British Columbia, just south of Vancouver. And it's right, the ocean is here. And normally when I go out, I walk when the tide is far out. So not every place does this, but here the ocean actually recedes. And I was trying to think about how far, but it's maybe like 500 meters. Like maybe that's too far, but it goes out a long way. Like you can walk 5 minutes for sure, and you are still on sand when the tide is out. And that's normally when I actually go out onto the beach. And yesterday, I just happened to be out there when the tide was in. And so I sat on some rocks beside the water. The water was just so beautiful and clear and decently warm. The day was very hot. And I got the idea, maybe I could go swimming because here it is clean. It's possible. What I was wearing was, well, close enough to be a bathing suit look. So I thought, you know what, it's going to be worth it. I want to see what the water's like. But it was very rocky as I was walking out. So lots and lots of rocks, little barnacles, sharp things, shells, and as I was walking, I was trying to be very careful and take my time. And then I let myself go in the water, but I was being really mindful not to put my knees down or my feet because I would scrape them. And I thought, well, this is a great experience. And yet it's a shame that it's so rocky under there. And that's fine. Finished the experience. It was lovely. Today I was out walking very early in the morning, and just the way the tides are right now, the tide was out. And I thought, there's that beautiful sand that I normally walk on. And then I also thought, wait a second, there's the rocky bits that I was on. And it only went out maybe 15 feet, maybe. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I had just let myself swim out a little bit further, it would have been perfectly smooth sand underneath me. And then I would have been more comfortable to have just stood up and stayed out there, because the water was not deep at any point. And so I thought, isn't that fascinating that even though logically, I knew that the sand was flat and smooth because that's where I normally walk. In the moment of being in the water with the tide in, I wasn't thinking about it. I actually forgot. Somehow it blocked. It never occurred to me, you know what, if I just go out a little bit longer, I'll be on that sand I normally walk on. And I thought it was a great reminder that so often, even when we are wanting something or we're working towards something and we have kind of a goal in mind or what's possible is right there, we forget either just how easy it is or how close it is. It's like it was literally right there. I was probably a foot away from where the smooth sand was. But in my mind, it was rocky and I needed to be careful. So I was so busy focused on kind of what was there that I didn't allow myself to even access my knowledge that it normally doesn't take me long to walk over that rocky bits and to get to the smooth sand. So I'm not sure if that makes sense. You'll have to tell me, Danay, but it just felt really meaningful in the moment to think I knew it logically, and yet I let myself focus completely away from how easy it would be to just go that little bit more and to have it be right there. And so in some ways I kind of gave up too early because I was so focused on what I could see in front of me and feel. So
Yeah.
any thoughts about
And
how that makes sense?
yeah, of course. The idea is that you set up a scenario of how something's supposed to look, and given that you go out when the tide is out, you have a set of expectations around there. You know, in psychology, they call it a schema, and it's like this structural view or belief about how this thing is supposed to look. So when you approach the ocean every single time you go, because you aim for when the tide is out so that you go out further, your mind is saying, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. So when you approached it from a different scenario, same place, but different scenario, your mind completely pushed that other
Mhm.
schema away and said, this is a whole new situation. Had you merged both of them, then you would have understood it's the same spot, but just the tide is in. So you treated it in a non-conscious way as a whole different scenario where you didn't know where the sand could be and you didn't know how far the rocks would go. So it was a natural response because the context felt different. It felt like you were in a new place, even though it was the same place. So our mind will tweak things in a way that create this story that things aren't the same or are the same when they aren't the same or are the same. And I've worded that in such a confusing way. Let me try that again. Our mind will distort something when something is similar and we'll call it different, and vice versa. So when that happens, we create a story that something is or is not attainable
Mhm.
because you've traveled out and you know, like you actually did the merging process this morning and created them to overlap and say, hey, I did this thing. Next time I'm presented with it, I'm going to know it's the same thing. And all I have to do is swim out 15 feet and I'm on the sand and I can stay out for much longer and have a great time in the water. Perfect. So you created that thing. So what we do with coaching is help people find these gaps of separation or similarities that they're not seeing for how they're able to achieve a specific goal or desire that they want to have. And it's really around their perspective. That's how it comes down to with everything that we do. We have like this set script that says this is how it's supposed to be. And as coaches, we say, well, what if it wasn't exactly this? And how about if you look at it this way? And then they go, oh, well, that's possible, you know? So it's just doing the slight little tweaks on perception for somebody to see that you did for yourself. And I mean, people will look at it and say, it's the water, it's no big deal. Like, but taking these relatable analogies or metaphors and saying, this is what we do on a regular basis, but with how we think or how we interact or the beliefs we have about people in our lives, that we sit there and we go, well, that person, you know, that friend, that partner, that parent, that sibling, whoever is always going to do this one thing. And we set the script up to then encourage them energetically and behaviorally to do that thing. If we adjust our perception, we adjust our behavior, it could be different, right? So you've adjusted it this morning by seeing it's the same thing. I know what to do next time. And that's what we do with our clients. So it's a really fun example.
Well, and I think that that's the key. When you create and wrap up your identity in a belief that turns out to not necessarily be the whole picture, that's where there is such a shift possible because it feels so true. Like with my example, what I knew to be true was the bottom is really rocky, and with all of the barnacles and things, it's going to be really scratchy, and I don't want to get cut or scraped. And so I created in my mind the idea that all of the bottom was going to be like that. And it felt completely true. So I think it's fascinating that sometimes we wrap up, our identity with these ideas that we think are so true. I'm a person who does this. I don't take the easy way out. I always work hard, all whatever it might be. And so then we see everything around us through that same lens.
Mm-hmm. And it's no different than that phenomenon that when you're looking to buy a car, for instance, and or you may have just bought a car or rented a car, and suddenly you see that car everywhere. That
Mhm.
car becomes like, oh my God, there's so many styles of that car. An example years ago was that my mom and I rented a Kia Soul, And we drove around in this Kia Soul, and I had never seen a Kia Soul before. I was like, I don't know what the hell that car is. And we're driving around in it, and everywhere we went, there was a Kia Soul in variety of colors that we got to the point where we're like, let's knock off all the colors because we were seeing them so often. And people would look at that and say, well, they suddenly appeared. It was like magic. And what people don't understand is when we're perceiving the world, our brain is this magical mechanism in our head that, or I guess it's better stated as an organ, that just takes all the information into thousands or millions of information into our eyes, ears, all of our senses, and then specifically selects what we want to be attentive to. And that can be based on what we believe, how we act, what we expect, et cetera, et cetera. And because and my mom was going through the same thing, we had brought this Kia Soul, this car, into our mind as something that we were familiar with. So that our brain went, let's find all the Kia Souls. Not consciously, but there they were. So suddenly there were more. And it's just because we were primed to see them, whereas originally we filtered them out. So we filter out so many things in our life.
Well, and I like what you talk about how, what you see is a match for what you're all of a sudden expecting to see or familiar with. And many people will say, yeah, but this kind of thing always happens to me, or, bad things keep happening to me, or I keep bringing in people in my life who are negative, or whatever the complaint might be. And it's fun to just point out that's kind of what you're expecting. And I'll often tell travel stories. And I talk about how I almost never have lineups in airports. And other people say, well, I always have lineups. Like it's always so busy at airports. And I think I just have a different experience. I'm surprised if I have to stand in a line at a busy airport. And we have very different expectations. And I'm assuming, and not just looking and anticipating, but assuming that it's going to be an easy experience. And it's fun to notice, well, where are we not assuming that life is going to feel easy? Where do we expect work to feel bad? Do we expect a relationship conversation to go sideways? Do we expect, our animals to misbehave? Like whatever it is, like, oh, he's chewing on everything. Like a friend just got a puppy. And it's like, okay, that is true. That's your experience. You're seeing evidence. But how long do you want to keep focusing on the fact that he chews on everything? Because the more that you anticipate he's growing out of it, he's just teething. I can train him with different toys. There are new possibilities other than, oh, my dog chews up all my shoes, right? It sounds kind of silly, but it really can shift your expectations. And also you can put your shoes up higher.
Well, you could definitely do that, but the analogy with the dog, like even if you didn't change anything, what you're noticing is that the dog is chewing on things. The dog does not spend 24/7 chewing on things. Statistically, it is unlikely that the dog would do that. So
Yeah.
looking at it, the dog also eats food, the dog also does their business, etc., etc. But you're going to filter out all the moments where the dog is doing exactly what you want it to do, how you want it to do it. And you're not banking that as success. But that's the same thing that happens in our life. Like, how many times has anyone, like including ourselves, we look at things and we go, oh, that's just not working out, or this is not working out. But like, I don't know, I went for a walk and the floor didn't crumble beneath me and I didn't fall into an abyss. I mean, dramatic, but the idea is that I just didn't bank it as being successful, or I got out of bed and my body supported me. I didn't crumble to the floor. Um, like I'm using like dramatic examples to say like we just don't process it because it's not threatening. We're not threatened by the fact that things work out. So we go, oh, not needed. It's working, but it is needed. It is working. So we've just been trained to find out where everything goes wrong. And that can bias our view to only notice when things go wrong. So it is very interesting that we do that. And it's giving people the opportunity to just notice how many things in their life actually go well or smoothly, because
Mm-hmm.
we're programming our brain to look for specific things when we continually point it out. Oh, yeah, that didn't work out again. Brain's like, great, focus on that. Anything that didn't work out, got it, you know? But, I ate breakfast without any issues today. I went for a walk and didn't get hit by a car. Like, these are good
Good.
things.
And a lot of people talk about appreciation and gratitude these days, or you hear about it. And it really can be as simple as noticing that things are going well. And so your examples, you were making them dramatic on purpose, but it's true. How often do you wake up and think, wow, I woke up today. Like this is the beginning of a new day. Not everybody has that. So it is a gift and you have it already right now. And standing up, if you're able to stand, that's a gift. If you're able to brush your teeth, that's a gift. And I remember a few years ago I had an issue with my shoulder and it made everything challenging because I literally could not lift my shoulder. So getting dressed, brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, um, all of that felt impossible. And boy, oh boy, do I appreciate now more than ever just when I'm doing simple movements or stretches or reaching for a glass out of the cupboard. It's like, I love the fact that my body works so well that I can reach and get this glass. And again, it might feel silly, but when you can't do it, there's no better time to appreciate, when doing something is when you can't do it. Anyone who's ever had back pain or knee pain, you learn in a hurry, like every moment in your life that you didn't fully appreciate it when you used to have the mobility and now all of a sudden it's gone. So it's fun to notice it now. We don't need to wait until something feels wrong. Let's just appreciate now. And
I
again,
appreciate
we're
that I can move my
creating,
shoulders.
you know, there when you can't, it's a big deal. And
Yeah,
so it really is. So we can create those new neural pathways. We can create new assumptions. We can highlight where things are going well. And it just helps. I used to use the expression like give some equal airtime because we're so good at focusing on what doesn't feel good or what we don't have yet, or we're waiting for news about something, we're waiting for a call about something, but it's not here yet. And we're just so focused on the not here yet part. And yet all of the like 98% of your day was going really well. Like you chewed food and you digested and you received energy and you did stand up and walk across the room and maybe you had a great conversation with someone or maybe you saw the sunrise. Like it doesn't matter what it is, but to give some equal airtime to everything going well, and it really helps minimize kind of how big those other things feel because it could just be one thing that you're waiting for. This was your point earlier. Like there could have been 98 beautiful things that happened in the last 10 minutes, but you ignored all of them because they just felt normal and easy. But what
mhm,
about this one thing? And how come that person hasn't answered my message yet? Well, how long do you really want to think about that?
yeah. And I mean, it is interesting because like I was waiting for an appointment, and I was being encouraged by some people to say like, call, find out when it's coming. And every bit of me was like, I don't want to call. Just get them to call me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go and call. And I mean, I don't mind talking on the phone. I just didn't really want to go and try to figure out where this appointment was supposed to be. And I got a call this morning from the place saying, we have a spot in 2 weeks for your appointment. And I went, great. And I got off the call and I said, evidence, it worked out. Like, because unlike what was recommended to me that I had to call and fight because it was probably going to be a really long wait list and stuff like that, and I'm like, mm, I don't want to do that. I just want it to work.
Well, and reframe that. I want this to feel easy. That
Yeah.
feels way too complicated and sticky. And why would I have to call all the places and then be prepared for news I don't want and then have to fight and argue to get it switched, blah, blah. Like I want this to feel easy. I want this to go well. I want this to work out. I know that it can work out. I know that it can be easy. I know that they can just call me with an appointment that works really well for me. And you were open to that idea. And I would love for you to contact that person and say, well, this was my experience. So I
I
know
did.
you've had different experiences. Oh, good. And it's like people need to understand that it can be something different. Now, of course, they'll say, oh, you're just lucky, or that just worked out for you. But
That was
I believe that
magic.
I believe that we create what we receive. And so it doesn't mean I like everything I get, but at least I understand I created it. And
Mhm.
I do create ease with travel. And I do create abundance and people offering to do things for me in a way that feels good. And it's not manipulative, it's just knowing that it's possible. I had like most of my life, I lived in a place that was opposite to that. I didn't want to accept help from anybody. What do you mean? No. Like you're opening the door for me? No, no, you walk through first. Like, why are you opening the door for me? What does that mean about me? You don't think I can open my own door?
Ah,
And
you were a
now
treat.
I think, what the heck? Like, why was I so adamant that I had to do it all myself? I wasn't allowed to say yes to any help. Not consciously. I mean, people may have helped me, but if they said, "Do you want help?" No, I'm fine. I'm fine, thanks. I'm good. How ridiculous to
Mm.
just keep slamming the door when the world wants to help you.
Mm.
The universe is conspiring to give you the experience you want. So why would you feel like you can't accept help about anything? It's a really skewed kind of way to live life. So maybe that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to relate to the same topic. We're just picking little examples. It's always going to come back to the same things. But I like personally playing around with the door opening thing. Like I will open doors for men and they look at me funny. I go, "You're allowed to get the door open for you too." And they laugh. And I said, "See, I'll open another one for you." And then I don't know what they do with it, but I just sit there and go, "You can have that too. Doesn't just have to be the other way around, but it is very entertaining." I like how you created this whole story that how offensive that they would hold a door for you because you're incapable of doing it yourself.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah,
quite a powerful shift in perspective for something, and people don't understand. It's the small things that we will work on, a lot of the small things for people to notice how they just see the world, even in the smaller pieces. And
yeah,
it's so beneficial to go, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I did that."
yeah,
So it is very uh, fascinating and entertaining to just see, something so small like a door being opened can be taken in one way or another way. And it's all
yeah.
based on perspective.
Exactly. Exact same conditions, but very different responses. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I think that feels satisfying to me. Is there anything else you want to add to our topic tonight here? Good.
No, happy Wednesday.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. If anybody listened this long, and of course you did because you wanted to hear all the good stories, let us know if you have any topics you'd like us to talk about, or if you have a real world example of things either going the way you wanted or maybe not so much. So we're always happy to get the feedback. So I
Yeah.
think we're getting all this live streaming figured out. We've got better titles now. We're connecting. We know when we're live. So who knows what will be possible now.
No, and we had up to three watching on mine. So that's
Yay!
fun. And Anna's been watching, so Anna's commented hello and saying the conversation is awesome. So
Lovely. Well, thank you, Anna, our biggest fan.
yeah.
We always appreciate you.
All
All
right.
right. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.